Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I know last time I was here, I spoke about Roman imperial coins. Roman imperial coins were coins that were issued by the Roman authorities, either the emperor himself or the Senate. The gold and the silver were issued by the emperor, and the bronze coins were issued by the Senate. This process started with Augustus, who reformed the coinage and standardized the coinage, and there was a standard coinage. There was a ratio of gold to silver to bronzes. But as we know, that the Romans expanded from the beginning or late 3rd century, they started to expand into the Greek world. And the Greek world had already a coinage. And as the Roman expanded, they allowed the local authorities to continue minting the same coins. And these coins were minted in the Greek standards, basically. They were minted in gold, silver, and bronzes. When Augustus standardized the Roman imperial coinage, also changed the provincial ones, and the nature of the provincial ones changed. So they start to carry the emperor's portrait, and they start to carry, all over the empire. One fact a lot of people don't realize, most of the coins that exchanged during the Roman Empire wasn't minted by Rome, was minted by the local authorities. Most people don't even realize there were over 600 mints in the Roman. It's mind-boggling. It's a wide variety of subjects. So as Augustus exerted his influence all over the Mediterranean, the nature of the provincial coinage changed from Greek to Roman. So by Augustus' time, the portrait of the emperor started to appear on most of the Roman coinage, local coinage. But they still maintain the Greek characters. So basically, the vast majority of provincial coinages has Greek characters, not Latin. And that continued all the way into the Byzantine era. On some occasion, they used Latin characters, but with the Greek spelling, which is very rare, which is kind of interesting. So the typical provincial coins, by the way, they're also known as a Greek imperial in some circles, but generally speaking, when we refer to them as Roman provincial. Generally speaking, the typical coin will carry on the obverse, it will has the picture of the portrait of the emperor, and sometimes the empress. And on the reverse, it will have a local deity or a god or a goddesses. But on some occasion, it has both the emperor and the empress, the emperor on the obverse or the empress on the reverse. That's normally the range, most of the ranges, but it's not always the case. At times, the Roman authorities allowed the local mints to issue coinage without the emperor's name. If you come across them, they always refer to them as quasi-autonomous, excuse me, or semi-autonomous or civic coins. They normally have a goddess like Athena or Minerva or Roma on the obverse, or the personification of the Senate or the Roman people. And in the reverse, they always have the city name, either abbreviated or in one form of another, or some feature of the city that the city is well known for. To give you an example, there's a city in Cappadocia called Caesarea. Most of the coinage feature a volcano. And what's fascinating about that feature, that volcano erupted like 6,500 years BC. But they still, for some reason, they still remember the volcano. So the coinage show the volcano erupting, and sometimes the volcano is surmounted by Zeus or Apollo, which is kind of fascinating. It just gives you a little flavor of just one city, but every city has its own goddesses, characters, and river gods were very important. If you look at the 600 mints or so, most of them are really located either on rivers or very close to fresh water. To be near water was very important. And to be near water and also on the sea was really a double advantage. Food resources were very limited in the Roman Empire. I mean, people who lived in the interior had less resources than people who lived close to the sea. Because if the crops failed, you probably will be famine. But if you live near the sea or near the river, there was always fish to catch and eat. So if you look at all the 600 mints, I would guarantee you probably 4 of them are on rivers or very close to rivers. And actually, many of their names, actually, they're like there's Antioch ad Orontum, Antioch on Orontus. So a lot of these cities have the name, means city on such a river. Also, another feature of these, they really feature things we don't know in history. They have the name of the local magistrate or the mayor or the governor. Like I have coins here, they have the name of a magistrate. It's not recorded in history, but it's on a coin. And this is what makes these coins very fascinating. They're really frozen in history, and every coin open a window into a culture, into an area that we are not familiar with, it's kind of mind-boggling the variety there is. Before I came in, actually, I checked. There was a website called Roman Provincial Coinage online, just to get an idea. There was an emperor called Elagabalus. He ruled for 4 years. There are 3,500 coins of him minted. And each coin has a number of variety, and they show you the pictures. By the way, you should all check into that website one day. And the other fact of these coins is, based on my experience and the coins I come across, the workmanship is not as good as the imperial one, and for obvious reasons. A lot of these cities or states have very limited resources. So the metalwork and the workmanship and the emperor, the features are not as clear as the imperial ones. There are some exceptions to that, though, like the mints of Alexandria, Antioch, and Caesarea and Cappadocia. They really minted beautiful coins. And I have a couple examples of these. There are a couple examples we're going to show. And the reason, because they were big metropolis. Arguably, Antioch and Alexandria were the second and third most important cities in the Roman Empire. And they had a lot of resources, so they were able to mint coins with beautiful features and good metalwork. But some of the other less important cities, they did not have the resources. And I have a suspicion, the workers went from one city to another. I think it's very difficult to make a coin. So probably a lot of cities like within the province of Silesia, where they have 30, 40 mints, probably the engravers and people who work in the mint went from one city to another to work on different mints.
Do any of the dyes exist? Has anybody?
Very few, hardly any. Very, very few, because they destroyed them. They rarely discovered them. And another facet of these mints, they were meant for local use. So the standard was set by the city or the province. And each province had their own standards. Some follow the Greek standards, and some follow the Roman standards. And some of the coinage is marked, the denomination is marked, some of it is not. But basically, the value of the coin was in the metal. And based on the size and the weight. I'm always fascinated how these people exchange these coins. And I guarantee you there was a lot of haggling, a lot of bargaining going on between the city merchants and the locals who would come to sell their products. And it's probably still exists in the Middle East. If any tourists go to the Middle East, you don't buy anything. You have to haggle. And I believe that probably started right there because there was really no fixed value. I mean, if a Roman soldier went to the market to buy food or something, I mean, he wouldn't have any local coins with him. He would give him a denarius and he'll get some.
He was a Roman soldier, you gave him what he wanted.
Or I don't want to say that the Roman soldiers went to the city for other reasons too. Yeah, but I can't say it. And you don't find these in large quantities. Unlike Roman imperials, you find them in large hordes because these large hordes were meant for trade, large trade, or to pay the soldiers, and they were hidden. These were meant for local use, so they rarely found in large quantity. They mostly found in excavations or on the surface or on very small quantities. But they did accept them all over the empire. I mean, the value was actually in the metal. So, and we have a lot of, I come across a lot of weights, and I wonder, probably every merchant has probably a scale, and that's how that money was exchanged. It was basically by the weight. I don't. You have any questions? I have some. One more. Let's show the pictures, and I think we'll explain it as we go through.
I've got a question. And the merchants or just the citizens, how could they be sure that a coin hadn't been debased, or that the actual precious metal in it had any degree of accuracy?
That's a good question. Bronze is bronze, so it wasn't an issue. It was more of an issue with silver coins. Silver coins were not issued widely in the provincial cities, except in Egypt, in Alexandria, the early ones, in Antioch, and also in Cappadocia. And I have a couple examples of these. Yeah, that's a good question. They used to test them, they make test cuts in them. But to fake a bronze, it doesn't make any sense because, it's a bronze is a bronze. But, I had checked, now with the new machines they have at a lot of coin shops, there are no two coins have the same alloy. There's so much variety. So, yeah, there was a lot of cheating going on. Could we start with the first picture? Like I said, the coinage started with Augustus, what I did not mention, and it ended with Diocletian. Diocletian was the last emperor to mint coins, and he minted it in Egypt. So I have two examples here of two coins. This coin is from Spain. It's a portrait of Augustus. Augustus always looked like a little boy. And the coins minted in Spain always have the same character. So this is from a city called Colonia Patricia. It shows a portrait of Augustus on one side. And this one is Diocletian. As you see, the workmanship is really, all the coinage that minted in Alexandria between 230 to 295, when this one coin is minted, all the emperors look the same. They can have a little cartoonish look. If you want to show the next one. Okay, this is the reverse of the two coins, just to give you an idea. This one has the pontifical implements, they use for sacrificial element. Here they have a ladle and like a maudius there. And this one has an eagle, which is typical in many Roman provincial coins. What's interesting about the Egyptian series is it's all dated. They have the date. See this here? That's the third letter in the Greek alphabet, gamma. So that stands for year 3 of the emperor. So Diocletian started at 284. So this coin, we could say for sure it was minted somewhere around 287, 288. So that's a year there. Sometimes they have the year written here, but this one doesn't have the date. But I believe it's dated from around 7 AD.
In the manufacture of these are essentially a molten piece of metal that is struck while it's...
Exactly like the Roman.
There are no blanks, these are cobs.
Yeah, no, they were struck. They were made exactly the same way as all of these coins. There were some really rare exception where some were, but they were in the later period. They were actually cast, but they're very rare. Actually, I don't think there were many cast, but they were all struck.
All struck from molten.
Molten, yes. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this I'm just giving you an example of the range of the sizes and the coinage they minted. The top one is from Edessa in Mesopotamia. It shows Gordian III. This one is from Anchelios in Thrace. It shows Septimius Severus. This one is actually Trajan from Alexandria, Egypt. This one is from Caesarea in Cappadocia. It shows Nero. And that's Marcus Aurelius from Seleucia at Calicandum. It's a city in Asia Minor. Just to give you a range of the kind of coinage they minted in the provincial cities. We could go to the next one. We show the reverse. Again, the reverse, it's kind of interesting. This one here, that's a local ruler. His name was Abgar X, paying tribute to the king. He was really a minor king, but there was a lot of his coinage. This one is really kind of the typical coin you see in provincial coinage, where you have an emperor on one side and you have goddesses on the reverse. This is Homonoia. And what's interesting here, this is the name of the magistrate. His name is Orpiano. You could see it here. His name Orpianos. And this is the name of the city here. It's this is from Marcianopolis. You could see the name of the city here. This is an interesting coin. This is kind of rare. Again, this is from Egypt, and like all coins, there are dated. L stands for the year, and IZ for the year. It's year 15, I believe. I just want to check. No, year 17, so that's dated from 113 to 114. And it has a hippo on the reverse, which is very rare. This one is from Cappadocia. This is half a drachm, and it has a victory on the reverse. It's very common. And this one here, it's pretty. It has a crescent, it's a moon and a star. Moons and stars were very common features in almost all coins, imperial or provincial, either as large as this, or sometimes in the fields they have either a crescent or a star. And I put a penny here to give you an idea of the sizes they come in. We could go to the next one. Okay, this is again the two kings here. This is. Oh, okay. This is again. This is Gordian III, and this is King of Thrace here. It shows you that they kept doing the local king with the emperor. This is from Augustus, and this is 240 years later. They still kept doing the same thing. This is King of Thrace here. We could go to the next one. Yeah, that's the same one. That's the King Abgar the 10th, and this is Augustus on this side here. Actually, the other side is Augustus. This is Ramatocles, the king of Thrace. It's kind of fascinating. This coin kind of fascinates me because usually they have the emperor on the obverse and the local king on the reverse. This is the other way around. I don't know how Augustus allowed them to do
What are
it.
the features to find the obverse versus the reverse? Date?
Because he is laureate here, but this is the way this coin is identified as this is the obverse. Normally, when you have the emperor, it should be the obverse. In some of the coins that were like they call after the emperors die, like they have them in Egypt, the emperor with the radiate head is the obverse, and the laureate is the reverse, like Divus Augustus, and they will have him with the radiate head. Okay, this is an example of this is a large coin from Egypt. I said, some of these coins they really as good as the imperial ones. This shows this is Trajan. This is a large coin, by the way. This is this size here, and it really shows excellent workmanship, excellent details. And let's go to the reverse. And again, this has the year. L stands for the year. I is 10, and H is, I just forgot that 10. Yeah, this is year 18. So this is dated from 114 to 115. Again, it shows really fine details. I mean, it shows really good workmanship and good metal. This is an interesting coin. This is Otho. Otho was he only ruled for 3 months. And this is from Antioch, and his portrait is completely different from the imperial portrait. My guess is they didn't even know how he looked, because by the time they got the news, so the features actually are more like Nero, young Nero, than Otho. And what's interesting, Otho's coins are very scarce, but you probably could find them more from Antioch or Alexandria than from the imperial. But this is a wonderful portrait of Otho. His imperial portrait show him with the curly hair. Here, his hair is completely different. He only ruled from January to April in the year 1669. Exactly 3 months. And show the reverse. And that's, again, very typical of the coinage of Antioch. They normally have either SC or an eagle on the reverse. Ironically, they have the date. It's year 1.
Anymore.
Yeah, he didn't make it. Huh?
What happened to him?
He got killed. That was the year when Nero died. There were like 5. Nero died, then Galba comes in. He was killed. Galba ruled for like 6-7 months. Then Otho comes in and he ruled for 3 months. And then Vitellius came in and he ruled for like 4 months. So there were 4 emperors within 1 year, basically. And this is the large. It's a large silver coin. It's one of the finer coins from Antioch. Okay. This is Lucius Verus. Lucius Verus was a co-ruler with Marcus Aurelius, and he did most of the fighting, by the way. Marcus Aurelius was doing his meditation. And the reason I'm showing this one, because on the reverse it shows the volcano in Caesarea. Yeah, this is the volcano erupting here. Again, the volcano, I looked into it. It was last erupted at 6500 BC, within 50 years, they say. But still people would remember, so people were living there at that time, and they kept the same tradition going. Also, Cappadocia was significant because it was a good agricultural area. If you look at their coinage, either they have Mount Argaeus, this one, or they always have wheat, stalks of wheat on the reverse. So it was, and it has, Asia Minor was, people don't realize most of the people in the Roman Empire didn't even live in Europe. Actually, almost 80% of them lived east of Rome.
where it's all ag.
Yeah, the Asia Minor, you know, 40%, roughly 40% of the population lived in Europe, 20% in Egypt, and 40% in Asia.
Turkey all the way to.
Yeah, Turkey, all, you know, the southern part, you know, the Mediterranean, basically more or less hugging the Mediterranean basin, except in Asia Minor. There was a lot. Asia Minor is very fertile ground, and there's a lot of rivers. And when I mentioned the more than 600 mints, more than half of them were in Asia Minor. And by the way, not all of them lasted 300 years. Some of them lasted 300 years, like Alexandria. And I collect coins from Mesopotamia. There was a mint called Singara, only minted one emperor for like few months, Gordian III, and then it disappeared. So it was very spasmodic, very erratic. They minted for one, then they sometimes skipped one or two emperors, then again another emperor. There's always, you could study it and see why. I'm sure there's a reason why they did that. During the 3rd century in Asia Minor, there was a competition between cities. They were called city pride coins. So there are a lot of cities. I mean, even you look at them in the map, they probably had 2,000 people. They minted very large coinage with so many details and so many varieties. And they all were very large coinage. They tried to do out each other. So they minted large coins with all kind of scenes. So this is one of the examples I put there. So this is Gordian III, and the reverse shows him on a horseback, and there's a lion here, and there's so much details going on. The workmanship is not the best, but the details, they were trying to compete. And so these were called city pride coins. So, and they're very collectibles. You could find all kind. The variety is mind-boggling. You really don't have to be a collector of coins to appreciate the depth and the variety of these coins. You know, even if you collect coins with ships on them, you really should go on that website and check it, called Roman Provincial Coinage online. It's RPC online. And it's a project started like 20 years ago, more than 30 years ago, by the British Museum, the National Library of France, and Oxford Museum and Oxford University. And you could go and type any word you want. If you're looking for ships, you could type ships or galley, and you'll see hundreds of coins with ships on them. If you're looking for snakes, there are probably hundreds of coins with serpents or snakes, or temples, or lions, or elephants. It's a fascinating. It's really. I kind of go to that website almost daily to look for coins. And what they do also, not only show you the coins, but the varieties. They show you where the varieties of that coins and where each coin is. They tell you this coin is in a German museum. This came from private collection. So it's a very useful place to go to. Yeah, I don't want to make it too long, but I think if you have any questions.